Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we look at the best bourbons that you folks at home should be looking for 2026. Run the video. Thank you so much for joining me for what is a very special episode here at the Whiskey Cove, and that is because me and you are going to be looking at the top bourbons that are going to be released for next year. We have some information about the whiskeys that are going to be put out, but I just want to put these whiskeys on your folks' radar. So when you're out there in January, February, March, April, May, and so on and so forth, in the year 2026, you have all the information armed with you, ready to go. And these are the whiskeys you need to be keeping an eye out on because they will be dropping and you don't want to miss any single one. With that being said, today is the last episode that you are able to purchase a bottle of figgy pudding. This is the Whiskey Cove's first single barrel bottle, and after today's episode and within a few days towards the end of the year, you're not going to be able to get this anymore. We are holding a few bottles back. They're able to do maybe some giveaways and some smaller releases in the future, but this is the last opportunity you folks have to get this. This is more or less an 8-year Doc Swinson's finishing a 27-year-old Armagnac cask. If you want one of these, go over, check out that QR code on the screen right now. If you want to buy two, we'll give you one free glass if you buy two. This is the Christmas, Thanksgiving sort of special that we are running right now. You buy two of these, we'll give you one glass. If you want to buy three of these, we'll give you two Whiskey Cove glasses. If you want to buy four, because you want to give some gifts away to some friends and family, we'll give you the whole 4-glass set. Go over to the Whiskey Cove. This is the best way to support the channel. Yes, you can like, comment, subscribe, and Patreon. I thank you all so much for that. But if you really want to support the Whiskey Cove, this is my first single barrel pick. It's an awesome pick. It's figgy pudding because it tastes like a British Christmas pudding. So go over, check out the Whiskey Cove's website right now. With that being said, we have 7 fantastic bourbons that we need to talk about that are being released in the year of 2026. 2025 has been a funky year. Some distilleries have put their production on pause, but there are still some phenomenal whiskey to be found moving forward into the year 2026. With that being said, we are starting off with a banger, and that is because the Heaven Hill Distillery are putting out a new version of Elijah Craig. We have Elijah Craig Small Batch. We have Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Yes, they took the 12-year age statement away, but we still have it. We have Elijah Craig 18, and we have so many more products from the Heaven Hill Distillery. But you know what we don't have? We don't have an Elijah Craig 15-year-old bourbon because they're releasing one in 2026. The proof on this is going to be like the Elijah Craig 18. It's going to be a little lower proof, 45% ABV or 90 proof. I know some of you at home are probably thinking they probably have missed a little trick here. Typically with Elijah Craig and Heaven Hill, when they go for these older age statements, more bolder age, they do drop the proof a lot. If you want something that has high age and higher proof, you probably want some of these guys back here, the Heaven Hill 18 and 19, because they have a higher proof note to them. However, with the Elijah Craig, like the 18, for example, it is a lower proof, and so is this 15-year-old bourbon, 90 proof. So what is the likely mash bill on this? We don't know exactly what the mash bill on this because we are just looking through the looking glass or peering through the looking glass and kind of making some assumptions of what it could be. So it's probably going to be between 70 and 78% corn because that's typically what we see with Heaven Hill. So off the back of that, it's going to be 10 to 15% rye and then 10 to 12% malted barley. What is going to be the price point? So Elijah Craig 18 has kicked up a little bit in price. All things considered, it hasn't gone astronomical. However, we're still looking and pushing the boundaries on $180. But what this is going to be retail now is probably going to be about $120 to $150, which I know is still a lot of money. And me personally, as long as this isn't a crazy release like a Russell's 15 or 13, I'm going to pick this up at least one time. If I get the opportunity to try it at a bar first, even if I don't like it, I'm still going to pick it up. I'm a big Heaven Hill fan, and I think bourbon around the 15-year-old mark really speaks to me. I like older bourbon. So like Elijah Craig 18, I'm a big fan of that. And I know a lot of people at home are not. They think that maybe it's over oaked, it has too much age with it. For me, I really do like it. So maybe the 15-year-old bourbon might fill a few spots. And it's really crazy. Yes, they dropped the age statement from the Elijah Craig barrel proof. So it used to be typically aged always at 12 years, but they took that away, and some are age 11, some are age 10, 9, 12. We had a C923 that was 13 years and 7 months, which was a big deal. Not just because it had a fantastic age and proof point, but because it tasted very, very good. And I expect this to absolutely follow suit. So you're expecting probably $120 to $150, 90 proof, 45% ABV, 10 to 15% in the rye mash bill, 70 to 78% corn. But definitely for any bourbon fan out there, this is one you do not want to miss. Next up on what is going to be a new release from the Penelope Distillery. And much like the Havana and the Rio that has come before them, they are going to be releasing a Madagascar finish. So if you think of Madagascar, it is a massive island off the coast of East South Africa, roughly around in the Indian Ocean. So people just think it's a small island off the coast of Africa, but actually it's bigger than Great Britain, it's bigger than the UK, it's a big island. But when I think about Madagascar, my mind automatically goes to the vanilla bean, because Madagascar is synonymous with vanilla. And that's exactly what you're going to get with this. Madagascar vanilla finish is going to be a vanilla Madagascar finish, which is a note that I get in bourbon quite frequently. But if they're going to amplify this, I'm wondering how it drinks. So much like the Rio, which was finished in maple syrup and rum, that was very sweet. The Rio was finished in honey and amburana. But what was so good about that is that the amburana, the Brazilian oak spice, really cut through some of the sweetness of it. I think the Havana, personally, I didn't like. It was too sweet. It was almost like it was like half and half maple syrup and then half whiskey. So the vanilla that'll come from this will be sweet. So it'll be really interesting how they balance that out. What we know at this point is, yes, this is going to be a wheated bourbon. Retail is probably going to be like the Rio or the Havana. So you're probably looking between $60 and $90. So the mash bill on this, we know it's going to be a wheated bourbon, so we know the mash bill has to have at least 51% of it going to be corn, because it is a bourbon, but it is a wheated bourbon. So we know for sure the second is going to be wheat, and then after that, rye, barley. Who knows at this point? But this is the kind of traditional mash bill that they put for these finishing series, and that is the Penelope Madagascar finish. Next up, number 3, and a bottle that I particularly don't want to talk about. Because I tried the small batch version, and truth be told, it was the lowest ever reviewed bourbon or whiskey that we've ever done here in the Whiskey Cove. And that is because Buffalo Trace are releasing Traveler Foolproof, the bottle of whiskey that no one asked for. This might be appealing to the armchair whiskey drinker, but any person who has ever really known what bourbon is all about, or really picks out the nuances with whiskey, knows that Traveler is not a very good whiskey. I think they put too much Canadian in it, and it kind of just tastes like very youthful grain notes. What do we know about this bottle? Well, we know that the proof is likely to be 115 to 120 proof, much like the Sazerac Foolproof. Mash bill on this is maybe high rye or rye forward, and the estimated retail price is going to be anywhere between $70 and $120. So Travelers came in around $30. So if it does push up beyond $100 for the Foolproof version, that would be the insane asylum leading the ship. It's already not a great whiskey. The Foolproof version might even amplify those youthful notes. And if you want to charge over $100, that it's crazy talk. Not a whiskey that I'm particularly going to be looking for. Will I try it in a bar if someone buys it for me? Someone I don't like, maybe. But I'm not going to get this. But still, a really interesting direction from Buffalo Trace. That is Traveler's Foolproof. Next up for bottle number 4, that is Knob Creek 12-year cask strength. So you might already be synonymous with Knob Creek 12-year cask strength from back in the day, but it kind of rejuvenated it a little bit. And I'm okay with this. because Knob Creek traditionally, and for me personally, I think has some of the best value that you can find in whiskey. I understand it might not be everybody's palate, because it is quite rye forward. It does have a spicy note to it, but if you like Jim Beam products, because they generally run a little higher rye in the mash bill, you're definitely gonna like this. So what are we looking at this? So it's gonna be around 121 proof, 60% ABV. They might have different additions. There'll be variations in the ABV. That's traditionally what they've done with their cask strength store picks in the past. Mash bill again, 70 to 75% corn, 15 to 18% rye, and then 8 to 10% malted barley. But the estimated retail price is what I found. It's going to be $140 to $200. I really hope I've got that wrong. This is just the information that I was able to speculate and glean from the internet, glean I should say. But I really hope that it doesn't fall in line with something like a Knob Creek 15. I think as a Knob Creek product, as a Jim Beam product that is traditionally lower, this should definitely sit sub $100. You can pick up a 10-year single barrel pick cask strength for around $50, $60. So if this is over $100, for me personally, it doesn't make too much sense. So I really hope they're able to find this for a respectable price. And if that's the case, I'm definitely gonna pick up a bottle. Next up for bottle number 5, and I know we're moving a little fast here, and that is a new release from Old Forester, from Brown-Forman, and that is the King of Kentucky 12-year. So this bottle of whiskey should be a supplemental bottle to already the annual, very lottery forward release of King of Kentucky. So this should be a more findable bottle that is available in much more states. This is going to be coming in roughly around 50% ABV, 110 proof. Wasn't able to specifically find out the details on that, but I think that's where we're looking at this. Mash bill is going to be about 72% corn, 18% rye, and then 10% malted barley. Obviously with King Kentucky, it's a very difficult bottle of whiskey to find. I'm talking about the more traditional $300 bottle here, the 16-year, once-a-year release. That is the best juice that you can probably find from Brown-Forman. However, they put it out a bottle that might feed into the market. For some of us, like me and you at home, we're not going to be able to find these specialty releases of King Kentucky, but we might be able to pick up this 12-year. So I like that idea. What I don't like about this is that you're probably going to have to pay north of $300 for it. And I don't know if the market really wants that right now. We've talked about this a lot on the channel lately, where the prices of whiskey have gone out of control and people at home are just not willing to pay these sort of money. But if you can get your hands on a bottle of King of Kentucky, yes, it's going to be 12-year, yes, it's going to be around 50% ABV or 110 proof. I still think you're going to do it just because what the label carries, and that's probably how I'm going to buy it. Heck, I have a bottle of Old Forester over my shoulder, the birthday bourbon. That comes in at a very similar ABV and similar price point. I still bought that, so I probably will still buy this. As long as it's just not sitting on shelves for a long period of time, I might even buy a backup. But I'm looking forward to this. I'm kind of looking forward to how the whiskey landscape kind of receives this bottle of whiskey. I've tasted King of Kentucky, but I've never been fortunate enough to buy it. And being in Colorado, it doesn't really come out here. So if the 12-year bourbon does come out here, I'm definitely gonna buy it once. So then sticking with Old Forester, and then bottle number 6 is gonna be Old Forester 12-year. So in the last, what is it, 3 years, time has flown by. But they've released the Old Forester 10-year, right? 50% ABV or 100 proof. Initially, when I did the review, I thought it was good. But I said, how much better is it than Old Forester 1920? Because Old Forester 1920 and some of the blue labels are very, very good. So I was a little bit unsure about it. But then we blinded it here in the Whiskey Cove with all the Old Forester selection. Spoiler alert, it won the whole thing. It was fantastic. I know that the subsequent years after that, the releases haven't quite matched up to that. Maybe Old Forester, when they put out the 10-year, they would just put out some of their best stuff, just so it kind of captures the market. And then after that, they kind of weeded out some of the better barrels and just put some mediocre barrels, if you like. And I think that's probably what's going to happen with this 12-year. I think the first release is going to be fantastic. So if you're watching this, if you like Brown-Forman, if you like Old Forester, and you see the 12-year for a reasonable price, well, what is a reasonable price? Well, my research has told me it's going to be around $150 to $200. So I would say on the lower end of that, so around $150. If you can find it for that, the first release, definitely pick it up, and definitely pick up a backup as well, because what we'll see is probably like a lot of distilleries that are doing right now, the first releases seem to be the best, and then after that the price maybe goes up and the whiskey kind of isn't as good. So I'm definitely going to be looking out for this Old Forester 12-year. ABV on this is going to be near barrel proof, so it's not going to be 50% ABV or 100 proof. We're expecting maybe 65% ABV. If it falls in line with the blue label, which is kind of where their cask strength is at, you can expect between 61% ABV up to even 68% ABV, which, if my math serves me right, 122 proof, all the way up to close to 130. So if you're a bit of a proof hound, you like Old Forester, I think even outside of that, this might be a bottle worth looking out for. And that was Old Forester, aged 12 years. And then one more, which is going to be a new release from the Four Roses Distillery. And that is going to be the Four Roses Anthology series. Anthology is a name that we haven't really seen in bourbon, especially in the US before. So this is going to be a really interesting what direction they take with this. So the proof on this is likely near barrel strength, which is going to be 108 to 115 proof. So 54% ABV all the way up to 57.5% ABV. So really typical with a lot of the barrel strength single barrel picks that we see from Four Roses. Yes, they can go up to like 120 proof or 60% ABV, but traditionally, for the most part, we see them the sub 120 proof, and that's likely what we'll see from there. So the mash bill is probably going to be some sort of combination between their different yeast strains, the OBSV, OESV, OBSK, and OESK. And then the retail price on this is going to be somewhere between $200 and $300. So very similar to their small batch barrel strength select that they kind of have, which somewhat falls in line with the pricing structure that Four Roses has, but I don't like to see that. It doesn't have an age statement, but it is a new release from the Four Roses Distillery at barrel strength, at a higher proof. But are you gonna get similar product from the single barrel picks? I picked up a single barrel pick not so long ago that was really close to 12 years. It was like 61% ABV or 120 proof, and it was phenomenal. So I would maybe hold off on this if you're someone who watches whiskey videos a lot and people are talking about how good this whiskey is from YouTube channels that you really trust and respect. Maybe go out and buy a bottle. Maybe go out and spend your $200 to $300 budget. That personally, I only spend $300 on a bottle of whiskey once a year. So maybe this could be the bottle for me and for you. I do still think that the value is probably going to be there on the single barrel store picks. However, a lot of the information that we talked about here today is just my assumption, my research, and without getting the bottle of whiskey down here in the Whiskey Cove and tasting it with you folks at home, we don't really know what the truth is going to be. However, we have put 7 fantastic bourbons on your radar to look for next year. And I hope you folks at home have a very Merry Christmas. So hopefully you get to spend it with people who are close to you and who you love. And I just want to say thank you so much for supporting the Whiskey Cove. We've been doing this for like 3.5 years at this point, which is crazy. I appreciate every like, comment, and subscribe. But again, if you want to really support the Whiskey Cove, the first Whiskey Cove single barrel pick, this is your last opportunity to buy it. We have the giveaway, we have the special with the glasses too, so it's a great opportunity to buy it, but after the end of this year, that's not going to be available anymore. So as we say on this channel, thank you so much for joining us here on the Whiskey Cove as we drink through the world's whiskies one glass at a time. Cheers.